Hey guys, welcome back to another review on the channel. Today I'll be reviewing A Night of Fright is No Delight, which is the 16th episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Season 1. So yeah, let's get straight into the review. So the episode opens up as we see this spooky looking mansion on this deserted island, and then we see the gang pulling up to it. Yeah, basically they're talking about how excited they are to, spend the night in that mansion because Scooby saved the Colonel, who, he's dead now, and he's left his fortune to a whole bunch of people, and Scooby's in his will, so he's like eligible to win all the money that he owns, used to own. But when they arrive on the island, they go inside and they speak to the owner, Mr. Crawls, and he says his partner, Mr. Creeps, couldn't make it, so he'll be running running it by himself. And then we're introduced to all the other people in the Colonel's will. I can't remember all their names, but there's 4 of them, and Scooby, of course, so there's 5, technically, and the Colonel left a record with the tape recording on how to win, and Mr. Creeps plays it for everyone to hear, and it says basically at midnight you'll be able to midnight you might be able to win. That's when it ends, and then one of the cousins says it's time to turn in, and we go to Shaggy, Scooby and Fred's room. Shaggy's having a sandwich and Scooby's gonna go have a bath. Inside the bath we see this mysterious looking phantom looking down at Scooby, and then the bath that he's in, it tips up and down into the basement. And inside the basement, Scooby sees a phantom shadow, and he runs back up out of the basement and tells Fred and Shaggy that the bath that he was in tipped into the basement, and he saw a mysterious looking shadow, phantom, with a chain, and then he shows Shaggy and Fred the bath, but it's back where it was originally, and they don't believe Scooby. Then a little bit later, the phantom shadow comes out of a clock and into one of the cousins' rooms, and he kidnaps his first victim. Everyone wakes up because they heard a mysterious noise, and they go to check on that specific cousin's room, and they figure out that he's been kidnapped by the phantom shadow. Fred reads some writing on a dusty old mirror saying, "The first is gone, the rest will go, unless you leave the island and row, 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 signed the phantom shadow." And then Shaggy and Scooby realise that must be the phantom that attacked, Shaggy and Fred realise that must be the phantom that attacked Scooby, and they, apologise. And then Fred comes up with an ingenious plan of making a dummy of Scooby and putting it inside his bed to try and trick the phantom to show up and take him. But Shaggy and Scooby are too scared. They hide outside on the drain pipe, but then we see one of the phantoms, and he kicks the pole, and Shaggy and Scooby accidentally grab onto Velma at the last second, dragging her down as well. They fall into this cave underneath the island, and they go to explore. Scooby spots some footprints, and Velma says to go investigate them and follow them. Of course, Shaggy doesn't want to. They lead to this mysterious looking area where there's a whole bunch of uniforms, and one of the uniforms then comes to life and starts chasing after the gang. They run into this elevator, and then the mysterious looking uniform is revealed to just be a duck inside the uniform. Then Velma figures out how to control the elevator, and they go up to the top floor, which is one of the cousins' rooms, but the cousin isn't there. So they go to warn Daphne and Fred, but Daphne and Fred have worse news, with all the other cousins disappearing as well, meaning Scooby is the only one left in the Colonel's will. Shaggy and doesn't really know what to do next, but Fred tells them that they're going to go to the piano because they heard an organ. The person who was playing the organ accidentally left his organ book behind. Now, on the front of the book, it has letters on it saying "Feed the organ and watch the floor." And then Scooby, dresses up and starts playing the piano. But when he plays it, the walls start coming in on them. But then Velma then plays the notes FEED. So instead of saying feed the organ and watch the floor, it's actually play those notes on the piano. And then a secret passage opens. They go under, and it's like the basement. And then they spot a couple of coffins. One of them's opened, and Shaggy realizes that it's dog-shaped, making it very, very, very mysterious and spooky. And then all the other coffins open up, and inside are the cousins, which is very, very freaky. And then the other Phantom, the Phantom Shadow shows up, but then he turns into a phantom, a green-looking phantom, and there's two of them. And Scooby faints in disbelief, and the rest of the gang run off. Shaggy gets a bucket of water and wakes up Scooby, and they split up. Shaggy and Scooby hide on top of a chandelier, getting away from one of the Phantoms. The other Phantom is chasing after Daphne, Fred, and Velma. Velma stops because the phone was ringing, and then she grabs the phone and gives it to the Phantom. And then we cut back to Shaggy and Scooby, who are still in the basement. They spot a whole bunch of like wine bottles, and they start shooting the caps at the Phantom, giving them enough time to run. And then they're on a bicycle, trying to get away from both the Phantoms, but they're on the back of the bicycle, which is quite funny. And Shaggy and Scooby run inside this room. The Phantoms go in, and Shaggy and Scooby come out all dressed up in weird-looking uniforms. Of course, Scooby's dressed up in like this female costume, which is really funny. Then Shaggy plays the notes on the piano again, and pushes his Phantom into the basement. So does Scooby. And they eventually get away. Then when they all meet up again, Velma spots some weird green stuff on Shaggy's hand, meaning it's a clue. And then Fred decides to set a trap. The trap works as they've got a fan, got slippery soap suds on the floor, and at the end is a washing machine. Daphne turns on the fan and will make the Phantom skid across the soap onto the spring and spring into the washing machine, where Shaggy will close the lid, and they'll all be soggy ghosts, really. Now, when they eventually, after they do their demonstration, they eventually Daphne, Velma, and Fred go out of the room to see where the ghosts are. Then the ghosts come running after them, but Scooby accidentally turns the fan in reverse and forces the washing machine to crash into the back of the fan and Scooby, and then they go chasing after the Phantoms. The Phantoms take the elevator back down to the little cave underneath the island again. Shaggy and Scooby go the shortcut, the way that they took last time with Velma, and they go chasing after the ghosts. Then the ghosts realise, they go back up the elevator. Shaggy and Scooby come into the elevator with them. They pop out. They go sliding up and down banisters. All gets a little bit confusing, and then they eventually trap the ghosts inside the washing machine, and then it's revealed to be Mr. Creeps and Mr. Crawls. We didn't actually get to see Mr. Creeps at all, but yeah, he just randomly showed up. Anyway, they were chasing after all the cousins and all the people in the Colonel's will to eventually take the money for themselves, and they were able to scare away everyone from the island. And then at the end of the episode, of course, Scooby was the last one to stay on the island, and gets all the money. And the cousins, they were just dummies in the coffins. The actual cousins left the island, and the Phantoms pretended to put dummies in there to trick the gang.
These ghosts are all washed up. Well, there they are, Sheriff. Mr. Creeps and his partner, Mr. Crawls.
They were trying to scare all the heirs off the island.
Then no one would spend the night, and they would keep control of the fortune.
First, Creeps pretended to be the Phantom and made it seem like the house was haunted.
The cousins were scared away fast. Then they put dummies that looked just like them in the coffins. Bah! But that plan backfired.
So did painting themselves like green ghosts.
Well, where they're going, Creeps and Crawls could use a good lawyer.
And all the money in the end turns out to be fake. So they ended up it was a waste of time, really. And then at the end of the episode, Scooby spots a Phantom bone and gets himself a snack to finish the episode. So yeah, what a way to finish an episode. What a great episode. So I give it a 10 out of 10, as I have been recently with lots of these episodes. They're starting to get really, really good now. This was a fantastic episode. Very, very spooky. Definitely one of the most spooky episodes so far. The atmosphere was brilliant. The setting of the deserted, mysterious island was fantastic. All the characters were superb. The way the gang acted, I thought, was absolutely fantastic. And the Phantoms were very, very cool as well. One of the most memorable ghosts in Scooby-Doo history, of course. And yeah, definitely one of the best episodes possible. And yeah, there was just so much I enjoyed about it, I guess. I thought the Phantoms did, the writers, did a very good job of the way they introduced the Phantom Shadow, because I thought the Phantom Shadow was pretty good enough by himself. But then they introduced the Green Phantoms halfway through the episode, and it just kept on getting spooky and spooky and spookier after that. The reveal wasn't brilliant, but it was still good. But a little bit harsh on the reveal. It was still very good, but not the best. The way they pegged them as well on a washing line wasn't brilliant either, but it was still good. And then, again, this is just me being a little bit harsh. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the review. Stay tuned for my review tomorrow, where I'll be reviewing the first episode of Season 2, which is Nowhere to Hide. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.